Uhuru, welcome on. Come on in. Thank you all to tuning in right now. Let us get these viewers up. Come on in. Come on in. We will have a dynamic discussion as always for you today. Come on in. Come on in. Let's get those numbers up. Last week, it was our season 2 kickoff, y'all. Season 2 of the One Africa Worldview podcast. Season 2 kickoff, and it was a big one. We definitely had our most exciting episode really to date. And we saw, some support coming in from everywhere. And that support was for our One Africa Worldview podcast, but also for Black Power 96 Radio. So come on in. Let's get those numbers up. I don't know about where you are, but it is so hot down here. My goodness, it is definitely summertime. And we talked about last time learning to swim. I haven't done that yet, but I do plan on it. And my goodness, it's hot. But just come on in. Let's get those numbers. I see them coming on in. Last week, that chat was moving so fast. We have to slow it down this time so we can make sure that we catch all those comments. Come on in. Like I said, that support for Black Power 96 Radio, my goodness, it showed that message, a message of unity, y'all. And just that unity among the African people, and that's not just African people on African content. That's African people worldwide. And we saw a lot of, just really, I would say misguided folks. And they're in their feelings about what it is really to be African and this African unity that we talk about. And I guess, what are they favoring? Some isolation or something? But it just really motivates us to make sure we continue what we're doing over here. And we're covering that topic of this whole united African nation. And after all, this is One Africa Worldview podcast. And we stream on the Burning Spear TV. We stream on the Burning Spear TV YouTube. We're on Burning Spear Media Rumbles channels. And now we're over on Black Power 96.3 FM. And that's a radio based in St. Petersburg, Florida, and streaming throughout the BP 96 app worldwide, y'all. That's worldwide. So come on in. Let's get these numbers up. I see you. Come on in. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and kick it off here. Now, I'm Dr. Mariah, and I'm representing BP 96 FM as a promotions manager. And just once again, we're now on BP 96's regular programming. So download the app, y'all, at Black Power 96 to listen to our show anywhere that you are. And come on, let's get into it. So this episode, we're looking back at 3 years of fearless struggle, y'all. Fearless struggle against the U.S. government, kicked off by vicious multi-city pre-dawn raids conducted by the FBI against the Uhuru Movement. And this happened on July 29th, 2022. And tomorrow, y'all, will be the official 3-year anniversary. 3 years since this attack on the Uhuru Movement. Offices and homes, including that of our chairman, Omali Yeshitela, and our deputy chair, Zené Yeshitela. So let's take a look back at that incident. And here's the popular recap video of the raids and immediate response from the July 29th, 2022.
This is the FBI. You have a federal warrant for this address. Keep your hands up and follow orders. This is the FBI. We have a warrant for this.
They handcuffed me and my wife out here. They wanted me to sit on the curb while they were carrying this out, something that I refused to do. They wanted my wife to sit on the curb out here, that she refused to do.
As I was coming out, this big old drone met me.
The only revolutionary organization that's done something here on the ground practically for African people is the one that's come under attack. Institution that offers a community radio station, a newspaper, a commercial kitchen, an Aquaba Hall rental space, and community office for our organizers. That was the building that has come under attack.
You need a breach? What do you need?
They want.
I don't know.
What's whole bet with money?
Don't
take it.
We will build a movement of white people that says hands off the Uhuru Movement.
They see in the African People's Socialist Party a vanguard for the struggle for the liberation of our people. They see that because not just what we do here in the United States, but because we had the temerity to do like Garvey, to do like Malcolm X, and take the struggle of black people around the world.
Wow, that is still is so fresh every time I see that video. Wow. And I just want you to know in this 3-year period, the African People's Socialist Party didn't just sit still. The African People's Socialist Party launched a worldwide anti-colonial strategy against this, winning support from everyone across the whole political spectrum here and challenging on anti-colonial free speech and delivering a devastating plow to the U.S. government in what has now really has come to be known as the Uhuru 3 trial of the century. And I mean, just despite the U.S. government's attacks coming from all angles here, including against the economic front of the Uhuru movement, directed by Deputy Chair Zené, the Uhuru movement under the fearless and relentless leadership of Chairman Omali really hasn't missed a beat, y'all. Missed a beat, and is really moving on to become really even bigger and a lot better after this. And the voice of Chairman Omali and his theory of African internationalism is heard, I mean, now around the world. And the seriousness of the African People's Socialist Party's objective to seize power and govern is becoming widely understood. And so with the theory and the organization, we cannot be set back here. And we are moving on, y'all. And that's exactly what we're doing. And we're going to see that in tonight's episode. So before we get into all that, I wanted to remind our viewers and our listeners that Black Power 96 is wrapping up its July member drive. And this is an institution 100% funded through donations from our listeners and our supportive businesses alike. I mean, One Africa Worldview needs to raise $1,000 for the station's operating expenses, and we've got 500 of that remaining, y'all. So throughout the program tonight, I want you to visit blackpower96.org/Africa and make your contribution to support your radio station. That's blackpower96.org/Africa. So, and I want to thank you to those who made their contribution during our episode last week and continue to make those contributions throughout the weekend. We just really appreciate every single one of you. And now let's get into the Whirlwind Weekly Update, bringing you African internationalism to the top news headlines. So this week on the Whirlwind Weekly Update, we have the reality of the two Americas that Chairman Omali, Yeshitela, talks about and continues to be exposed with the murder of an African man, Tyrone Bartley, by Orange County pigs over in Orlando, Florida. He was shot 6 times by a high-powered assault rifle at point-blank range, y'all, by killer cop Reese Whitlock during a highly militarized home invasion inside of his home. Now, Tyrone was a 32-year-old African father. The African People's Socialist Party has responded by organizing a campaign over in Orlando, Florida, surrounding this case. So another instance, and it's just happening over and over again, we can see over even in Jacksonville, Florida. There's an African student by William McNeil Jr., and Mr. McNeil, he was punched and dragged from his car by sheriff's deputies, and this resulted in a concussion and broken tooth that actually split his lip and required stitches because they came through his lip, y'all. And this type of violence is regular and just justified under what? That colonial domination. And whereas in a town in Northeast Arkansas, we just see this something happening. There's a group of white nationalists to where these settlers who calling themselves the return to the land, constructing an all-white nation, refusing non-white or LGBTQ identifying individuals from living there as if we want to really. So, I mean, just only an already existing white nation can a group of settlers go unbothered in building an all-white town on stolen indigenous land. I mean, come on, where else is that happening? So unlike African people who have fought historically for self-determination and our own independent communities such as Tulsa, Philadelphia, and the move, Rosewood, as recently as even St. Louis, with the Black Power blueprint happening. I mean, it's just where we see bombings and the lynch mobs and FBI raids. I mean, it just really seeks to destroy our community, our independent economic capacity. And we see these two Americas, y'all, the colonizer versus the domestically colonized. And I mean, just in other news, we want to just really salute, as we mentioned, with the St. Louis Reparations Summer Project, organized by the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, an organization of white people working under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party for reparations to African people. The summer project took place from July 6th through 13th and saw members who traveled from all over, from San Francisco, California, St. Petersburg, Florida, Columbus, Ohio, all over to St. Louis. And they conducted outreach in a white community engaged in political education with direct instructors like Chairman Omali and Director Zené, and Overturning the Culture of Violence book reading event with African People's Solidarity Committee Chairwoman Penny Hess, a special fundraiser for the Black Power Blueprint, economic projects, and much more was going on. And we also really want to recognize party member, comrade Zené, who organized a Stop Cop City event in Charlotte, North Carolina, where International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement President Matsamela Odom spoke, and the spear was sold out. Sold out, y'all. And didn't I tell y'all the movement, the Uhuru movement, it is moving on here. Moving on. So now, before heading into this week's primary objective, let's have a listen from Akile, Director of Media and Communications for the Uhuru Movement and co-host to our very own show here, One Africa Worldview, on how you can support the radio station that supports you.
Emphasize that this is why you should support Black Power 96 Radio, because it's not just, a means of, providing like good music, and because it does all that. It gives you critical information, political education, good empowering music, all that stuff. But it also provides opportunities to the African working class community through volunteering, broadcast journalism, and other training. It has the Local Going Global program that puts unsigned or independent artists before the entire African nation, not just limited to the US, and so much more. And it's also a platform that tells our stories and unites the African community. And I mentioned that we had a gospel concert, and that's a statement right there. The station brings together the people regardless of faith and unites them to the struggle for Black power. And what other station can say that? So it's on us to make sure that this station has our full support and can be successful. So let's make that donation right now to blackpower96.org/Africa right now.
Yes, you heard it right there. blackpower96.org/Africa, y'all. Make that donation and keep them coming in. And we're halfway there, and we want to keep it going there to that objective there. So speaking of that objective, we want to go ahead and get into I can't tell y'all how excited I am to get into this week's primary objective on the actual 3-year anniversary since the FBI raids on the Uhuru Movement. And the way the party really just jumped straight into action. It didn't cower. It didn't cower a bit. It didn't go underground. It demonstrated to the world what it really means to fight. And that was not only powerful to witness, but it was actually powerful to be a part of. And as a volunteer of Black Power 96 Radio and Burning Spear Media, I can really tell you that we were on the go from every single day from the beginning, figuring out new and creative ways to really just put forward that whole hands off Uhuru, hands off Africa campaign. And one of the standout moments of the campaign was the Black is Back Coalition's annual march on the White House in November of 2023. And for the first time, mobilizations occurred around the world at different U.S. embassies and international destinations in Africa and Europe. I mean, just joining in with a demand to drop the charges on our Uhuru 3. And this was also shortly after the Palestinians launched fierce rebellion against the settler colony of Israel, and colonial powers responded with an all-out genocide against the Palestinian people. And it was a turning point in history, y'all. Just a really powerful moment. And here's that video now with Chairman Omali, Yeshitela, speaking on the platform in front of the White House.
Chair of the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations. The Black is Back Coalition was established something like 16 years ago. And the purpose of the Black is Back Coalition, in part, was to unite a movement for peace that incorporated the issues of Palestine, the issue of Africans who are catching hell throughout this country. We were tired of seeing a white left, so-called peace movement, so-called anti-war movement, walk across the corpse of black people, ignore all the African political prisoners who were locked up, some just for 60 some odd years, some getting out just to die. They were able to walk all around that. For 15 years, we've been having this demonstration. For 15 years, we've tried to get the white left, the so-called peace movement, the so-called anti-war movement, to be able to unite with the struggle of African people right here against colonialism as we experience it right here. For 15 years, we've been telling them that they had to unite with the struggle of the Mexican people. You know that half of Mexico was stolen in 1848. They took half of Mexico, and then they declared the people coming across the border as illegals. They've done the same thing. This is the template that they used when they took on Palestine. They've used this all around the world. They've used it in this country. They used it everywhere. And settler colonialism requires the attempt to destroy the people who are being colonized.
Wow, 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 wow. Says so powerful. And talk about a united African nation, y'all. An African nation where everyone is coming together. And this is what the party is really doing. Not what the party used to do, not what the party plans on doing. This is what the party is doing right now, y'all. And I mean, just of course, for the Uhuru 3, which was Chairman Omali Yeshitela and Solidarity leaders Penny Hess and Jesse Neville, the people moved to retain the best legal counsel because while this was a political assault, the US government was using their law to make it with charges of being Russian agents and foreign agent conspirators. And the legal strategy was guided by the political strategy laid out by Chairman Omali Yeshitela, which required us to influence the court of public opinion well before we even stepped foot into a courtroom. So the Hands Off Uhuru campaign mobilized thousands and thousands of supporters with different political beliefs coming together and different assumptions coming together from across the world, across the globe to stand with the Uhuru 3 and get the charges dropped. Get those charges dropped, y'all. And the Uhuru Movement organized the Freedom Summer, which was an intense period of organizing with a special emphasis out in Florida, since that's where the trial would be actually taking place. And just days before the trial of the century commenced, in the beginning week of September, we held the Freedom Summer Rally on August 31st, 2024 at the Uhuru House in St. Pete, Florida. Supporters from coast to coast flew in to be a part, and many really stayed for that whole duration of the trial, which lasted about 2 weeks to get all together there. And here we have a video of Chairman Omali Yeshitela actually speaking on the stage at the Freedom Summer Rally. Let's check that out.
Zené Yeshitela, this is my and I wanted to bring her forward, not just because she's my wife. She was in that house on July 29, 2022, when those military forces attacked us and with apparent intent to kill. They were in front of my house with assault weapons that had mounted on them laser targeting devices. So when I came out of that house pre-dawn, as they commanded over loudspeakers, with grenades going on all around the neighborhood and in the back stairwell of my house. And when I came downstairs and ran into this military force there with armored personnel vehicles parked in front of my house. And when Zené Yeshitela followed me out of the house, she was almost hit in the face with a drone that they sent right up into the house after they did that. And so she's been a soldier, but more than just somebody who happened to have been around when I came under attack. She is the architect of most of the Black Power blueprint. Yeah. And I want to say the Black Power blueprint is part of our strategic objective to create a dual and contending powers. To create our own power, even in the process of deconstructing the relationship that we have with colonialism and capitalism. And so she's been in charge of that. When you look around and see what we have here, this is a part of the work that she has done. And I just want to say that. I just want to let people know that. Comrades, sisters and brothers, it's been said before, but we are not guilty of the charges that have been made against us by the United States government. I did not get in this movement because of the oppression of African people. That is what informed my consciousness. And so we are engaged in this fight now in terms of this trial. And there is a pretense being made that this has to do with some violation of the law, when the very Constitution itself right now is at stake. The Constitution of the United States, the one that they said is supposed to be so valuable, the Bill of Rights that they said was supposed to be so valuable, the First Amendment that they said was supposed to be so valuable. This is what's under attack. In other words, they are in the process of attacking themselves and their own system when they do this thing that they do to us. And this is a part of a process of, I just want everybody to understand. You talk about colonialism and the colonial mode of production. You must understand that even though they are trying us today, this is improvement. Because they used to not try us, they just find the nearest tree or the nearest place where they could burn us to death. I mean, that's the reality. Drag us behind vehicles and things like that. When the First Amendment was passed, when the Bill of Rights was passed in this country, it was, and when it was ratified by the Congress, it was 1791. Well, black people in this country in 1791. We were functioning as the horrendous colonial slaves, had no rights. There was no pretext of rights for black people in this country. We were openly raped, and humiliated on a regular basis. This is the reality that we were confronted with. So the First Amendment, the Constitution, was not for us. What was it for? Man, we just waste our money. Like, we got all this money that we're wasting, et cetera, et cetera. This was the line. I had to understand this reality. That's the thing that pushed me into a movement. And I'm not even going to go into much of the childhood and the things that I experienced and saw others experience. I want to appreciate Phil Mongaza, SNCC. I want to appreciate SNCC. SNCC's been mentioned a few times. And I think people need to understand the significance of SNCC as a political formation in this country, because SNCC was the bridge between the anti-racist civil rights movement and the anti-colonial Black Power movement. It was SNCC that put forth the slogan, Black Power. You heard something about the origin of the paper from the Atlantic Project that happened, the Atlanta Project, but SNCC put that forward. And when they moved from civil rights and raised the question of power, whatever in the consciousness of the people who were grappling with that, they had entered the struggle of anti-colonialism. Because the colonized have to have power. In order to have power, you got to fight the colonizer and overturn that relationship. The only thing I've been doing for the last several years is pursuing what came out of SNCC, that understanding. That's what you see here. That's what you see, the work that we do. That's the connection with Africa that we have come from SNCC. And I just wanted to say that I think it's really important in terms of a historical moment and significance of that organization. Some people have heard of Stokely Carmichael and Kwame Ture and Willie Ricks and stuff like that. They were a part of a movement, and everybody in that movement did not agree. It's not like everybody was united in that movement, like everybody in this movement, everybody in this meeting, everybody in this right here today do not agree. But that's all right. What we do agree on is that there is an enemy out there, and that we can say that we are not the enemy, they are the enemy. We can say that. We can say that what they have attempted to impose on the people, and they've done it quite successfully for a long time, is the notion that there is no alternative. There is no alternative to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. There's no alternative to them or Trump or anything like that. We said that's a lie. And so what has to happen is that this movement that's come together, it's an anti-colonial movement, anti-colonial free speech movement, anti-colonial human rights movement. And I'm saying this as somebody who's a communist. I'm, as Comrade Charles Barry knows, I'm a materialist. You understand? I'm a materialist. But saying I'm a materialist does not keep me from appreciation of what we've seen here today. Because African people came to Christianity for different reasons. African people came to Christianity because it was the religion of the oppressed. Right. That's why there's go down, Moses, way down in Egypt land, tell Pharaoh, let my people go. You weren't hearing that in the white church. You were hearing that in the church of the oppressed. And that's the thing that brought us to this relationship with these wonderful people who bring the culture, African culture. We've had to learn how to even sing songs and express our feelings in ways that's not necessarily obvious to the oppressor. When Harriet Tubman come in the middle of the night to get the people. What she say? Steal away. And Africans understood exactly what that meant. It's time to bounce. You understand? And so people got together and did exactly that. So that's our relationship. That's a different Christianity than what Trump is talking about. That's a different Christianity than what Biden is talking about. That's a religion that's facing resistance. That's the way we approach that. But I want to say I'm a materialist. And I had to come to some understanding about this reality we're affected with. And early on, what was clear to me is that white people just kept on messing with us in horrendous, horrible ways that it was hard to imagine. People could not even get ready for it in a certain way in our community as much as it happened because it was hard to imagine somebody doing this kind of stuff to other human beings. And so we couldn't get a grip on it easily. And so at one time in my own history, I appreciated the Nation of Islam. They said the white man is the devil. I wasn't religion, but that sounded all right to me. That's given if there had to be a devil, if there was a devil somewhere, that must be the damn devil. You understand? But that wasn't satisfactory for me. Captain Sam, that's your daddy, right? It sure is. Yeah, this has been around for a long time. Captain Sam was her daddy, a member of the Nation of Islam, been in this movement for years and years. But the fact is that we had to come to terms. Because even as we saying the white man was the devil, then we had Duvalier in Haiti, who was killing black people, oppressing black people. And we had Mobutu in Congo, who worked for the CIA and overthrew and murdered Patrice Lumumba, cut him up in milk pieces and put him in that. Yeah, we had all of those things too, so it's not enough. We had to come to a better understanding of what the hell was happening. So it came to us that we had to build a movement that recognized the depth of these contradictions. We had to get to the science of it. We were fighting all the time with white leftists who said that we didn't have the right to be able to struggle for national racism because somehow if we did that, we were dividing the imaginary international working class or something to that effect. So we got to find out what's happened. So they made me read Marx. They forced me to read Lenin. They forced me to look at Trotsky and all the others who represented what was characterized as scientific revolution. And it was helpful. I read Marx. And having read Marx, I came to damn different conclusions about so much using the science that Marx provided. Because Marx told us, he said, you have to have an understanding of how capitalism came into existence. He said, in order for there to be capitalist production, there must be accumulation of capital. He said, but how do you get an accumulation of capital if there's no capitalist production? He said, the only way we can get out of this is to presuppose that there was an accumulation of capital that preceded the production, capitalist production. He said that accumulation of capital came about as a consequence of turning Africa into a warren for the commercial hunting of black skins. He said it came and tearing the indigenous people in this land into the mines, bringing up gold and silver and what have you for the Europeans. He said it had to do with the attack that was going on at what they call East India at the time. We're talking about the India in that particular area of South Asia. Hell, he just described the mode of production. That is a mode of production for the first time in history with the enslavement of African people, with the attack on Africa, the Portuguese. 600 years we've been fighting this struggle. 600 years ago, 1415, Portugal, little tiny, nasty Portugal, they're looking at an appendix on the bottom of Europe, struck out. And then came to Africa, came to and began this whole process of capturing black people and taught what became to be known as Europe how to make a quick buck. And so you saw for the first time in history the development of a world economy. There was no world economy before then. The world economy was created through selling black people and settling in all these places around the world. If you look at what is called the Americas today, you're looking at the consequence of the attack on Africa. That's what we are looking at. And so this is something that was real, but then understanding that the socialism that I want, the communism that I fight for, can only be acquired, and this is true of everybody, once you knock down this pedestal of colonialism upon which the whole social system rests.
Right.
He said, this is Karl Marx, for people who really believe in the significance of the working class. He said that wage slavery, and that's a real interesting way to characterize it. People got a job. He said wage slavery in Europe required as a pedestal slave-rid, pure, and simple in the New World. So even you're talking about even the working class having its significance based on the enslavement and colonization of Africans and other people around the world. I just wanted to say those things. I want to say Africa must be free. Yes. And they don't have enough flashbang grenades or anything to keep that struggle from happening. We're going to work to be free. We're going to build a united movement, a united anti-imperialist movement, a united anti-colonial movement. There are people in this audience now, people who are with us, who never would even be talking to each other if this was not happening. And we're talking to each other, and that's going to happen. We're going to recognize that we are the ones. We are the alternatives to the Democratic Party. We are the alternatives to the Republican Party. Collective, we are the collective alternative, even though we may have differences among ourselves, and nobody's going to say anything about that because there are people out here now who we were told if you have something to do with those people, we're not going to have anything to do with you. So some of them actually left and disappeared, and we didn't miss them that much. But we collectively have to assume responsibility for being that alternative. And there's space here. There's space here for us to build a genuine anti-colonial opposition to this social system, to colonialism, etc. So I'm hoping that you will be here for the duration of that struggle. And I just want to say finally, I've said again that we're innocent of the charges that they made against us. And I think it's interesting what they've charged us with. They said that the overt acts, I think that's what they call them, that supposedly constitute the crime, is that I went to Moscow in 2015 twice. I was invited to Moscow by an NGO, non-governmental organization. So that's a fact. But they've used facts to obscure the truth. I went to Moscow in 2015 at the invitation of a non-governmental organization, like I went to Spain in 2017 at the invitation of a non-governmental organization. International meeting there, dealing with the question of what they call the contradiction between the Africa and the North. North, of course, being Europe and what have you. So factually, I went there. They said that we Russian agents are employed by the Russians because we came out in opposition to this war that's being made against Russia, using Ukraine as the vehicle and the victims at the same time. So that makes us Russian agents. They said because the Russians have that position and we have that position, therefore we must be servants of Russia. But the fact is, if they look at our history and feel to see that our position has been that opposing any of these invasions, these attacks that the United States has been making historically. And 2 days before the incursion by Russia into Ukraine, I came out telling people that this was going to happen, that this is why it was going to happen. The Russians didn't tell us, we told them. You told them, look out, it's coming. You understand? They didn't tell us. And I'm being told that I wish they'd just say something, but they'd stand up and hint very loudly. I want to say, comrades, that it's farce what they have said, and that we have to tell this story. And they would use this case to negate the ability of African people to make criticism about our conditions. They say the Russians hired us to sow dissension. The existence of the NAACP suggests some kind of dissension already here. You can't, the fact is that, so that's what they said, that we were brought here to, we were hired by the Russians to sow dissension. We've been sowing dissension for 50, 60 years. You can go back to our documents, you see that we were condemning genocide. We were calling for reparations. We were opposed to the wars. We were and demanding the right to have relationships with Africans and people all around the world, going back more than 70 years. You go back, you'll see that we have a tactics and strategy. I don't know if there's another one that has been developed for the Black Liberation Movement. And those tactics and strategies have informed our practice since at least 1979. So, the fact is that it is ridiculous for them to make these charges, but they have to make these charges. Otherwise, they have to admit that they're attacking us for talk, for speech. And to admit they're attacking us for talk and speech is something that undermines their whole system and their whole process. So they say, we're not attacking you because you're talking, we're attacking you because Russia told you to talk, which is a ridiculous kind of thing. So we're going to win this. We have won just by being here. They had hope. They attacked us. And it was 9 months after they attacked us that they finally indicted us. And they had hope in that 9-month period without indictment that would either run, that we would come in on our bellies and take some kind of plea bargain that would have required us to commit perjury, to say that we did something in order to get a deal from them. But that's not going to happen. We are not going to sacrifice the political space that Black people fought and died for in this country. They're gonna have we taking that space, we keeping that space. And I am not going to be some example for Black people on his belly, crawling and kissing the ass of the ruling class in order to get some kind of deal for myself.
Wow, 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 wow. That is the Chairman Omali, Yeshitela, setting that mic on fire as usual. And I mean, just looking at that, you heard him yourself. You heard him 600 years, y'all, 600 years of this happening. And I mean, and just highlighting some of that there, as far as how the chairman mentioned that just really they're attacking themselves when they're attacking us. And in order for them to be attacking us, we have to have something. And that shows that we're making something. We're making noises and we're making that movement there. And like he said, if we didn't have something to attack, they wouldn't. And we just really, really like to highlight also how the chairman mentioned that everyone in the movement may not actually agree with each other, but what we can do is come together to know that we have a bigger enemy here. And that's what we do agree on. And just looking at that, all of this, as he mentioned, this is that mode, that colonial mode of production there. And it's just something that the whole movement, that anti-colonial movement, is that we're a part of. And that movement, it's on the move, y'all. And just as we mentioned, during that entire campaign there, the entire Hands Off Uhuru campaign, and Uhuru 3 trial, Black Power 96 was playing a critical role in just saying that this station was the one that came under the attack by the Pinellas County Commission all on their own. Pinellas County Commission said that the station just stole what was previously awarded, just period there, just stole what was awarded. And there was grant funds that were stated for a backup generator and upgrades that were needed for the accessibility equipment for the station manager, who was also the DJ, the world's best blind DJ Eddie Maltzby there. And they just did this because the Black Power 96 has had a mission and a message that you heard the chairman talking about earlier that really supports and uplifts the African community coming together as one Africa. And this station, it tells the truth, y'all. It tells the truth, and which is really what we can do when we have a station that's funded by our listeners and our supporters, is to tell the truth. And we don't do that just by telling it. And here's a word from my co-host and the Burning Spear managing editor, Ciliana Bakel, calling on you to donate to Black Power 96 Radio.
Right? Black Power 96.3 FM. It gives us a chance on our FM dial to hear positive discussions and unifying presentations, including those given by Chairman Omali Yeshitela, right? Giving clarity on these kinds of questions that come up about African identity, right? And so if you're not listening to Black Power 96 Radio yet, you can fix that by tuning in on 96.3 FM in St. Pete, Florida. I'm gonna just go just hitch a ride to Florida right now so I could just tune in from Florida. Or you can also listen from anywhere on blackpower96.org or on the free Black Power 96 mobile app available on the App Store or Google Play. So, it turns out I don't really need to go all the way to Florida to listen to this amazing presentation. So whether you're a new or solidified listener, we're calling on you to donate to Black Power 96 during this special One Africa Worldview episode.
Yeah, there's just so powerful there. And just so many moments there. And you heard Cameron Ciliana over there at blackpower96.org/Africa to donate there. blackpower96.org/Africa. And like I said, there's so many different moments and just really too many to mention here. And over these past 3 years, since that July 29, 2022, it just really deserves a lot of our attention. And all of the Hands Off Uhuru event activity can be seen and found over on the Burning Spear TV YouTube and at handsoffyahoo.org. That's handsoffyahoo.org. And our Burning Spear Media led this huge dynamic trial broadcast and even conducted reenactments with yours truly involved. We just really organized interviews on shows like Tucker Carlson, Democracy Now!, we were with other media, even all in the New York Times, and just worked with countless supportive radio stations, independent journalists, and other podcasts, just as well as print and online media, and just really getting that word off of Hands Off Uhuru, hands off. We made Chairman Omali and the Uhuru 3 household names, y'all, and just very powerful work by all that was involved there. Just all the publishings and everything there is over there on the Burning Spear TV YouTube, where you can check it out. And we can't forget the announcement of the verdict in September or the sentencing hearing in December. So from the steps of the Tampa Federal Courthouse, here's Rep. Geneba announcing the sentencing hearing results and Chairman Omali Yeshitela greeting the trial attendees. Let's check that out.
My name is Jana Lumumba. I'm the Southern Regional Representative for the African People's Socialist Party, as well as the granddaughter of Chairman Omali Yeshitela. And I'm happy to report that in the case of the Uhuru 3, that Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Chair Jesse Neville, and Chairwoman Penny Hess have not been sentenced to 1 day in prison. In addition, they will not pay a single dollar for a fine. They have also been granted the ability to travel freely. And they have been issued 300 hours of community service, which we already do, as well as 36 months of probation. So we are, as we wait for them to be released from the probation office, we are happy to say that from day one, the FBI conducted violent multi-city military raids on 7 Uhuru Movement homes and offices. We've waged a campaign that put the state on trial and united forces across the political spectrum in defense of free speech and the rights of the African community to self-determination. When they indicted us, they expected us to fold. They expected us to run or to take a plea, which is mainly how they achieved their 99% conviction rate in federal criminal cases. We didn't fold. We didn't run. We didn't hide. We didn't take a plea to confess to something that we didn't do. Right. We are fighting and we are winning. We have built an international, non-sectarian, broad-based, anti-colonial free speech movement. The state's objective was not only to imprison 83-year-old Chairman Omali Yeshitela. They wanted to silence us, to criminalize dissent, to force us underground, and to crush the African liberation movement. As Chairman Omali wrote in response to the September 12th verdict, the jury rejected the bogus charge that African people require leadership from Russians or groups characterized as white to define and lead our struggle to end domestic colonialism. Yeah. We salute the people's multifaceted and ubiquitous movement for anti-colonial free speech and democratic rights, whose tireless and heroic organizing contributed profoundly towards this massive victory. The U.S. government did not intend to lose their case on the charge that the Uhuru Movement was working for the Russians. Their political goal was to use the foreign agent charge to deny the legitimacy of the Black Liberation Movement when we criticized the U.S. government for its treatment of African people. Their charge that we are foreign agents was meant to mute the significance of our criticisms of the killings of Black men and women by the police, the mass incarcerations of our people, the gentrification and other forms of colonial terror on our communities, by saying that it was actually the Russians who told us to say it. The U.S. government expended a tremendous amount of resources, at least tens of millions of dollars, and hundreds of FBI agents and other government personnel to carry out this sham trial. They stole from our properties at least 13 terabytes of data, the equivalent of 2.5 million books worth of information. They put 14 witnesses on the stand to present their so-called evidence, all of them FBI agents, except for 2 academic hacks who admitted they knew nothing about our case. Under cross-examination, one FBI agent after another was forced to admit that there was no evidence that we ever agreed to work under the direction or control of Russia. That's right. The lead investigator from the FBI even had to admit under oath that the FBI and the DOJ knowingly lied to the people when they indicted us for, quote, election interference, unquote, despite the fact that not a shred of evidence of anything was of the sort was ever identified. The jury saw right through it and was able to declare that the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman Omali Yeshitela have never worked for the Russians. We have always worked for Black people. This was a political trial. The colonial states' failed efforts to convince a jury that we are foreign agents was part of a larger political goal to forever discredit speech by Black people and other colonized people against our oppression at the hands of the U.S. government. The U.S. government told the jury that when we demanded reparations to our people, it was the Russians who told us to do that. The jury said no. They told the jury, Uhuru, here's the chairman.
Wow. And that struggle, it still continues, y'all. And I mean, the sentencing hearing took place on December 16, 2024. And those who attended the trial also came to stand to hear what would be sentencing for the remaining and contradictory bogus conspiracy conviction. The judge acknowledged that all of the activity that the Uhuru 3 engaged in was actually constitutionally protected activity and that he would not issue prison time or a fine. So the prosecutors asked for the full 5 years, and that came with the conspiracy charge and a $250,000 fine loomed overhead for each of the Uhuru 3. The sentencing was met with cheers, tears, and sighs of relief after a hard-fought battle. So let's take a look at some footage from inside the courtroom as Chairman Omali Yeshitela and the Uhuru 3 are greeted by supporters.
Not one day, 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 not one day.
Not one day, you heard it there, not one day, not one dime. And just as I said, that struggle, it continues. And of course, as we still demand for all the charges to be completely dropped. And in June, attorney Leonard Goodman authored and filed an appeal brief to challenge the conspiracy conviction. And we are fighting this, and we're fighting this thing, y'all, all the way. And this appeal will establish a new precedent for free speech cases in the United States. So support for this case continues to pour in, and the Uhuru movement remains undeterred. And we prove that when we fight, we win, and when we will not be thrown off course in our pursuit of Black power, y'all. So, and speaking of which, I want to make a final call for everyone listening and watching to donate to Black Power 96 Radio. Donate to your radio station. We want to also mention that the radio station, like I said, it is for you, for the people, for the community. So we want to make sure that you know that you can listen. You don't have to be in St. Pete, y'all. You can download that Black Power 96 app right there on the app stores of your device, and you can listen anywhere that you all are. So you want to keep Black Power on the radio airwaves through your mobile phones and computers. So the truth requires uncensored, unbought platforms, and Black Power 96 is it, y'all. So one last time, go to the website, blackpower96.org/Africa, and let's get us to that $1,000 goal, or cash app us at $Black Power 96. We want to make sure that we give some special thanks here to MQ, who donated $25 tonight and last week too, and Akile, who donated $20, and Lisa, who pledged $25. And we still have them coming in. Just because we're not here, y'all, don't mean that those donations are not needed. Keep them coming in. You heard at blackpower96.org/Africa. And while you are all making your final donations, we're going to head on into our announcements, giving you info on how to connect with our work on the ground. And we're on social media, but that's not where we're based. We're working in the streets with the people. So stay tuned for events and studies happening in your area. Okay, we want to thank you again for donating, and let's see what we got on the calendar here. So, St. Louis, come join the Northside Independent Neighborhood Association, NINA, on Saturday, August 2nd for the Northside Community Block Party, All Out for Unity in our community. That's right, on Saturday, August 2nd from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., NINA will be going all out for unity in our community with free food, live music and poetry, basketball, free prizes, tornado relief resources, vendors, children's activities, and all kinds of other stuff going on, y'all. NINA invites us to come together to celebrate the strength, resilience, and unity of the Northside community that got to work immediately to meet the needs of our neighbors after the May 16th tornadoes. This block party brings us together to strengthen our will to rebuild our homes and businesses better than ever. So to then have an info table or volunteer over at the Northside Community Block Party, you can call 314-246-0311 or info@ninastl.org. That's 314-246-0311 or email info@ninastl.org. And again, that's Saturday, August 2nd from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on West Florissant from Adelaide to Alice. So coming up next, we also have community, culture, and commerce in action at the One Africa, One Nation Farmers Market. It is more than a market, y'all. It's a hub for Black-owned businesses, grassroots organizing, and African self-determination. Don't miss your chance to be a part of this vibrant movement. If you're in the St. Louis area, come out on Saturday, August 23rd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at O'Fallon Park, which is at 4343 West Florissant Avenue, to take part. That's O'Fallon Park at 4343 West Florissant. More information is available on oneafricamarket.com. That's oneafricamarket.com. So yeah, you can check out more info about the Northside Community Block Party, about the One Africa, One Nation Farmers Market events, and everything else going on over at the Black Power Blueprint.org website. And of course, we'll be keeping you updated on any of our socials, so make sure you're following us there. So yeah, that's it for today's show, y'all. And I just really want to thank you for tuning in. And don't forget to subscribe to our channels. And just again, where we keep the discussion going on to the next episode of One Africa Worldview. We stream on the Burning Spear TV YouTube, Burning Spear Media Rumble channels, and now on Black Power 96.3 FM radio based in St. Petersburg, Florida, and streaming globally on the Black Power 96 FM app. All right, y'all. And that's it. Until next time, One Africa, One Nation.